My son's birthday wish is going to be the death of me. It was the greatest day of my life. I had finally gotten the promotion for which I had worked my ass off for the last 3 years. All those sacrifices I had made, all those long nights and weekends I had spent hunched over my desk had finally paid off, and here I was, on top of the world in a goddamn corner office. I smiled as I took in the view from the floor to the ceiling glass windows. This is it. This is the good life. I felt goosebumps as I saw the city's lights shimmering in the distance. I can't even remember the last time I felt this excited. King of the world, baby. My phone vibrated on the desk, bringing me out of my reverie. I know who it was, and why she was calling me. See, right when I was shaking hands with my boss, my son was having his 10th birthday party. I knew Marie would be mad at me, and she had every right to be so. I had been neglecting my family for far too long, and this had been the cause for some major fights we'd had. At one point I was even afraid she would leave me. It had taken some major pleading and begging to convince her to stay. I know some of you may have already formed an opinion about me, like how I'm a workaholic asshole who neglects his family. But it's not true. Everything I've ever done had been for the sake of my family, so that we can have a financially secure future. I know my words don't mean much, I have to back them up with my actions, and that is what I was going to do from here on out. It was a beautiful drive back home. The weather was perfect, the traffic was light, and the radio was playing Johnny Cash. My head hadn't felt this clear and light for a really long time. The promotion had lifted a huge weight off my shoulders, and I was really enjoying just being alive. I couldn't wait to see my wife and son. The lights were out. The party must have gotten over long before the time I made it back to my house. As I pulled into the garage, I saw that Marie had still not taken down the party decorations. I guess I could start making up to her and Danny by pulling them down tomorrow morning. I used my keys to get in from the back door, the one that made the least bit of noise. After drinking a glass of water, I tiptoed over to my bedroom and saw my beautiful wife curled up in a blanket. God, I really had gotten lucky. I better start taking this seriously, there's no way I was going to lose her. I then made my way over to Danny's room. The little devil was lying on his back with his legs crossed like a yogi. I chuckled. How the fuck do you sleep like that? I pulled his blanket over him and gave him a kiss on the forehead. I really did feel guilty, you know. Danny was a daddy's boy, he must have really missed me. How do you explain to a child why you couldn't be there for him? He was at that age where he thinks his daddy is a superhero who can do anything. The idea that work of all things would keep me away from is just incomprehensible to him. I felt my wife softly walk over and wrap her arms around me. He really missed you, Andy. She whispered. Know what his birthday wish was? No. I sighed. That his dad would be around more. That's it. My heart broke. I didn't think it was possible for me to feel more shitty, but boy was I wrong. Alright, kiddo. This weekend I'll do anything and everything you want. No more missed birthdays or basketball games anymore. I told my wife to go back to bed. I wanted to be here for just a little longer. I walked back over to the foot of his bed and stood looking down at my sleeping son. I don't know how long I stood there, just looking at him sleeping peacefully. It must have been quite a while because my legs had started to hurt. Stifling a yawn, I started to walk to my bedroom. I had only reached the threshold of Danny's room when I felt a strange itch in the back of mind. As if I was missing something important, so important that it was a matter of life or death. What the fuck was it? Sweat started to pour down my brow as I began fidgeting. What was it? Whatever it was, it passed and I started to calm down. I took a deep breath and began to walk when I realized I was back at the foot of Danny's bed. I was so confused at this point. I was quite sure that I was walking out of this room. When did I decide to go back, and when did I actually do that? I shook my head and turned around and walked out of the room. I had only exited the room when that feeling was back, only much worse. I started breathing fast and sweating like crazy. My shirt was soaked. I felt like I was having a panic attack and fell down to my knees, to try and calm the fuck down. I had to get back. I just had to, or I was going to fucking die. I don't know how I knew that. I just knew that if I had any hope of surviving, it was in making it back to where I had started. I started crawling my way back, an inch at a time, as breathing became more and more difficult. My body began to feel heavy and a sharp pain erupted from my forehead. Darkness descended and I'm pretty sure I was knocked unconscious. I say I'm pretty sure because when I came to, I was back standing at the foot of Danny's bed. The feeling was gone and only a dull ache remained in my legs from standing for too long. Now I was really starting to freak the fuck out. What was happening? It was almost as if something was forcing me stay here. But what? My long repressed guilt about ignoring my family? Was I having a mental breakdown? Can people rationally analyze their behavior like this when they're having a breakdown though? What else could it be? Some supernatural shit? I almost laughed. No way do I believe in any of that nonsense. Maybe, I'm overthinking this. Yeah. Had to be it. I decided to give leaving the room another shot. Long story short. The same thing happened and I was back where I started. Fuck. I was almost in tears at this point. I had never felt this terrified. I wanted to scream my lungs out. My hands were shaking and I was barely holding myself together. But I didn't shout. I didn't want to alarm Danny. I reached in my pocket and pulled out my phone. I began to dial my wife's number. Huh? Why was I tapping my fingers on the palm of my hand? Where was my phone? I reached in my pocket again and pulled my phone out. And in seconds, it was back in my pocket again. No. 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 I screamed with all the strength I had. No sound came out and I collapsed to my knees in fear and frustration. Please. For the love of God. What was happening to me? Why couldn't I just fucking leave Danny's room? Danny. Holy shit. Could it be? I began to laugh as I remembered his birthday wish. No fucking way. No way could that be what's happening. My son's birthday wish was coming true. I couldn't for the life of me leave his side. Maybe this spell or whatever would be broken if he woke up? I decided to gently shake him by the shoulder and wake him up. As my hand got closer to him, I hesitated for some unfathomable reason. I pulled my hand back. Fuck. I can't even do that. I just would have to wait for him to wake up all on his own. Maybe he'll get up to pee in the night. I sure hoped that would happen. I didn't want to spend the next 5 or 6 hours just standing here, when I didn't even know whether my theory was actually correct or not. I had no other option but to wait. So I waited. And waited. And waited. And then waited some more. Time passed excruciatingly slowly. I dozed and slipped in and out of consciousness. I hummed old melodies, I counted jumping sheep, I meditated, and daydreamed, night dreamed. I don't know how much time had passed when I heard my wife's voice. Andrew. What? Have you been here all night? She whispered, in shock. Her voice, oh so beautiful, like an angel who had descended from the heavens to save my soul. I turned to look at her, with tears running down my eyes. Marie. Help me. I pleaded. The sunlight fell on her face, illuminating her beautiful features. I watched her facial expressions change rapidly. From shock to concern to fear. Good God. She was so beautiful and expressive. Why did I favor work over spending time with her? Andrew. What's wrong? She asked. And I explained as well as I could, trying desperately not to sound like a lunatic. To her credit, she took it really well. I had expected her to immediately call 911 and try and get me committed. Maybe that will happen eventually, but the fact that she would try and understand this from my perspective meant the world to me. Danny woke up when I was explaining all this to Marie. We tried to act as normally as we could, to protect him from this, whatever this was. We gave him a good morning kiss and sent him off to the bathroom. All right big guy, let's go. Marie said and gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. Feeling more confident now that I had her support, I decided to give this another shot. Hand in hand, we walked out of Danny's room. I felt elated as I took a step out of the room. And then a couple of more steps. Free. I was free from whatever fucking curse I was under. I shouted in joy and lifted my wife in my arms and spun her around. She started to laugh. I was fucking deliriously happy. As if I had just had a second shot at life, and for all you know, maybe I had. That was really scary, Andrew. She said. We really need to talk about this. I nodded. I was ready for anything. Meds, therapy, anything and everything as long as Fuck. That restlessness was back. I felt a growing sense of dread as I began feeling that strange pull once again. I looked at Marie again and she must have sensed it because she was starting to feel alarmed too at this point. This really isn't funny anymore, Andrew. Marie said, desperation seeping into her voice. No, honey. It really isn't. It hasn't been funny for the last 7 hours. I wanted this to end. Maybe I could go and ask Danny to end it, whatever this was. Could you withdraw your birthday wish? How does this witchcraft shit work? I decided to walk back to Danny's room and Marie tried to stop me, to snap me out of it or something. I refused and I'm pretty sure I pushed her aside as I walked back to that spot that I had spent the night at. So guys, this is where I'm at. I'm standing at the foot of my son's bed as he's taking a shower and my wife is in the kitchen, sobbing and speaking to someone on the phone. I'm losing my fucking mind. I don't know what's happening and I don't know what to do. Please. Fucking help me.